योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्।
Hope you've been finding the episodes so far both useful and informative. In the previous episodes, we've been seeing very many sequence of poses, starting from standing poses, moving to forward bends, sitting asanas, etc. Hope every previous episode helps you understand the next episode, the asana and the next episode, a little better. You must be thinking why we don't have simultaneous instructions for breath while practicing an asana. Pranayama translates to breath training in English. However, that's not the complete explanation. Pranayama indeed is a very, very delicate, subtle, as well as a powerful state, and therefore succeeds the practice of asana in Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. The reason why pranayama comes after asana is pranayama requires the organs of respiration to be able to expand, contrast, hold varying volumes of breath, as well as function rhythmically. These functions are established in asana. While practicing an asana, the necessary flexibility, expansion, contraction, as well as tone is provided to the organs of respiration. For that reason, asana does precede pranayama. Also, during the practice of asana, every asana has its own pattern of breath. For example, Sarvangasana, Uttanasana are particularly exhalative. Some asanas have a retentive state. Some asanas are more inhalative. In this way, every asana has its own breath pattern. That pattern must not be stifled. While you do an asana, you are experiencing that breathing even without your knowledge. You are experiencing exalted states of exhalation, inhalation, retention, all of which come as Puraka, Rechaka and Kumbhaka in pranayama. So these breath patterns must be established in asana first before they are particularly introduced by the practice of pranayama. For these reasons, asana precedes pranayama, after which one starts proceeding to a state where asana is done particularly for pranayama, and then we move to the practice of pranayama as well. In today's episode, we will see Janu Sirasasana. The literal meanings of the word Janu Sirasasana: Janu means knee, Sirasasana, Shiras means head, and therefore this is an asana which concerns the knee and the head as well. In this asana, one leg is kept straight, the other knee is opened wide, and then the practitioner moves forward in a spinal extension and touches the head towards the shin. We will now see the instructions for Janu Sirasasana. We will now see how to do Janu Sirasasana. Now, like all sitting poses of sitting forward extensions, we start with Dandasana. In Dandasana, the thighs are kept together, the feet are kept together, the thigh is pressed down until the back of the thigh properly touches the ground. Similarly, the heels are lengthened away, the calf muscle therefore is also pressed to the ground, the shins are pressed to the ground, the knee also. By the thighs engagement and the shins engagement, the entire structure of the knee is also pulled up at the kneecaps and then pressed down. Heel is extended, toes are passive, but big toe mounds are active. Here, the practitioner presses the palm, rolls the shoulder back, widens the chest, widens the collarbones, raises the sternum up. As you can see, the thigh must be kept down, upon which the entire spine should raise up. It is therefore important that the structure of the abdomen lengthens away from the thigh. This should be a clear-cut separation. The opposite, where the chest sinks towards the thigh, shouldn't happen. Pressing the palm, rolling the shoulder back, lift the entire length of the spine up such that the abdominal surface is clearly separated away from the groin. From this position, the legs are opened hip width apart. By hip width apart, the outer ankle and the outer hip must be kept in one line. From here, one leg is bent and taken wide like Baddha Konasana, where the knees are opened wide, the entire face of the leg is wide. Here, though we say the leg is like Baddha Konasana, there is a pertinent quality for Janu Sirasasana. On the bent leg side, the heel touches the groin. On the straight leg, the toe touches the thigh. So, it is not like the entire foot is against the straight leg or the Dandasana leg. The heel of the bent leg is against the groin of the bent leg. The toes of the bent leg is against the thigh of the straight leg. So, the foot is at a diagonal. At this point, you have to once again press the hands, lift the chest, roll the shoulders back, and the girth or expansion of the chest as well as the separation of the abdomen should be proper. I'd like to bring your attention to the bent leg side. On the bent leg side, the outer knee, that is the back knee, and the outer hip, that is the back hip, must be in one line. Here too, it's falling a little short. You will have to pull the leg back until the outer knee and outer hip are in one line. This generous opening gives good freedom to the area of the abdomen, which is very important for Janu Sirasasana. This is the leg structure of the Janu Sirasasana asana. It has to be properly understood as both legs are positioned differently. This being the first step, from here the practitioner moves to the second step, which is the halfway or Madhyama Sthiti. Here, as you notice, the sternum or the center of the chest keeps hanging towards the side of the bent leg. Nevertheless, the sternum should be positioned over the straight leg. Here, the practitioner first, before addressing that, must properly raise the sides of the body, due to which the hands are taken in Urdhva Hastasana. The hands are taken in Urdhva Hastasana, the sides of the body is lifted tall. Now, when the body lifts, there will be a tendency of the buttock to come up, but you will have to press the thigh down, keep the groin soft, and really try and turn towards the straight leg side in a way that the sternum is steered towards the straight leg side, the abdominal surface is steered towards the straight leg side without being tempted to lift the buttock. This is the second position. Here, in Urdhva Hastasana 2, the back ribs must be sucked in and the chest must be raised, the arm must be taken behind the ear. This is the second position. From there, the top arm on the left side is kept over the front of the left knee, and the right hand is kept by the side of the right hip. With the palm pushing against the knee, the practitioner has to properly steer the sternum over the straight leg. There will always be a tendency for the sternum to hang over the bent leg side, but it's important to search for the medial positioning of the spine where the sternum is over the straight leg side. From there, once again, pushing against the knee, you will have to draw the back ribs in, position the sternum at the center, raise the chest up. This is the third position. From here onwards, trying to retain the centrality of the spine, the practitioner reaches for the foot, hand holding either sides of the foot. Holding either sides of the foot, once again trying to position the sternum in the center, pulling the back ribs in, raising the chest up, the elbow has to be locked. This is the Madhyama Sthiti or the halfway position where a proper concave back, the back ribs must be in, sternum should be long, sides of the body should be tall, the throat should be well extended. This position should be accomplished without lifting the buttock. The buttock down, groin soft, sternum centered, body sharply raised up, back should be in concave back position. This is the concave back position, again a very important medial phase in the progression of the pose. From here, the elbows must be kept straight and the sternum should be kept tall. Those elbows that were locked in the Madhyama or medial position must now be pulled wide such that the sides of the body as well as the center spine can travel far towards the foot. It's not about the head dropping on the shin, rather it's about the extension of the spine. So the bentness of the elbow, that is the bend of the elbow, as well as the travel of the spine forward by which way the head finds its position on the shin should be the line of thought. It's not about the head crashing on the shin, it's about how the elbows can be pried open, the sides of the body can be lengthened, the center sternum can be lengthened, by which way the head finds its position on the shin. In this final position, the elbows should be crisply raised up, the head should be rested, the abdomen should softly rest on the thigh. The entire line of the torso is placed on the straight leg. This is the final position of Janu Sirasasana. For coming up, you will have to reverse the steps. You come back into concave back position with the chest lifted, and then the hands are brought by the sides of the hip. I would now like to draw your attention to three things that commonly happen in Janu Sirasasana. One is while going or progressing to Janu Sirasasana, sometimes the knee of the bent leg slips and comes forward. This is the first thing. Usually, while the thigh bends and comes forward, it constricts the pose. And therefore, it's important to have the knee wide and the buttock pressed to the ground. That is one correction. Do not allow the knee to slide forward. The second scenario, while going to the pose, very commonly the practitioner may lift the buttock up and come pouring just with the eagerness to somehow take the head to the shin. As you see, there is a complete detachment of the sitting area away from the ground, and then the practitioner leaves the sitting and then comes to place the head towards the shin. That is wrong. The buttock must be descended and placed to the ground. The outer thigh must roll down to the ground. When the buttock is lifted, you come away from the outer thigh and go on the inner side. That is wrong. Roll the thigh down, keep the buttock down, and then go to Janu Sirasasana. The third position, I would like you to watch the back ribs. Keeping the knee back and the buttock down, while you watch the rib cage, what happens is there is a skewed spine. As you can see, the right side of the body shortens, or the side of the straight leg shortens, and the side of the bent leg swells up. And therefore, this is asymmetrical. There is no symmetry in the inner organic content. This needs to be adjusted. You will have to roll the swollen side down and expand the compressing side outward, so that in this position the head is placed. You can see from the medial line there is a symmetrical distribution of ribs on both sides. This is very different to this. So you will have to really roll the abdomen down, widen the ribs on the compressing side and suck in the ribs on the bent leg side, so that the distribution of ribs are equal on both sides. These are the three things that you need to watch out for while doing Janu Sirasasana. Previously, we discussed three scenarios by which a practitioner may go wrong. We are addressing the first of them, where the knee comes sliding forward. Here is where structures such as a pillar can be very useful. The practitioner now bends the leg in Janu Sirasasana, and then when you lock the front of the knee against the edge of a pillar, again I'd like you to see that it is the knee. We are not really locking the ankle or the metatarsal. You lock the edge of the knee against the edge of a pillar, and then when you then proceed to go to Janu Sirasasana, the knee stays put in its place and doesn't come sliding forward, and therefore the pillar acts as a structure that can block the knee from slipping forward. In this position, the practitioner can then confidently build the pose further, knowing that the knee is stabilized. He can then rotate the sternum, position the sternum over the straight leg, pull the back ribs in, rest the head, keeping the elbows sharp and lifted. And therefore, this is the first scenario where a simple structure such as a pillar can be used to further develop the pose. Another scenario that we saw is where the sternum is not positioned at the center. Usually, a practitioner will struggle to position the sternum in the center. The other repercussions of that would be, if the sternum is hanging to one side, that is where we saw that one side of the rib remains swollen and the other side of the rib remains compressed. We saw that in the previous segment. It is important to position the sternum in the middle so that the spine is medial and the ribs are also properly and evenly distributed. In a common scenario, when a practitioner sits in Janu Sirasasana, you will see that the chest remains leaning towards the open face, that is the gap between the two legs. Particularly, the sternum remains hanging on the bent leg side. Now, on his own, the practitioner tries to center the sternum, and when you try to center the sternum, you still, if I were to draw a line, the thigh goes up here and the sternum still remains hanging that side. So what can we then do in this scenario to make sure the spine can be centralized and the organic penetration of the pose can be even? One is to proceed from the previous action where the knee is wedged against the pillar. The side of the hand that is on the side of the bent leg knee can be brought around the pillar. Hands will be a little up. The pillar can be gripped and then the sternum can be rotated sharply. Here you use the sharp end of the pillar to grip. Gripping, you will have to turn the chest to the center, and the hand that is at the back will aid in rotating the spine further. So there is a pull force with the hand. Here there is a push or a winding force back, due to which now if I were to draw a line from the thigh, the sternum is centered medially. Now, this is one of the options. Another option will be from this position to quickly bring that hand, that is the bent leg side hand, on the outer side of the straight leg foot. And when you bring it like that, the medial spine can be further adjusted by rotating the opposite shoulder out and really exposing the sternum over the thigh. Here you will have to go to the concave back position, lifting the sternum up and tilting, because usually when a person goes down, it is this side, that is the bent leg side of the sternum, that doesn't integrate. So the tilt of the spine is such that you really bring the sternum centrally over the thigh. Now here, when the practitioner then goes, the sternum is over the thigh, it's kept over the thigh, it's kept over the thigh, keeping it over the thigh, then you proceed to Janu Sirasasana, where the entire pose is developed on the integrity of the spine. I will show you yet another adjustment coming up. For people who are not able to hold the foot, you can then use a rope. The rope goes around the arch. Both hands hold the rope, and then holding both hands over the rope, on the rope, you first have to nicely build that concave back or the Madhyama Sthiti position that we were talking about. Concave back, back ribs in, sternum chest well lifted, throat relaxed, and the abdomen sharply away from the thigh, buttock placed down. Here, holding the rope, you first build the concave back position. Here, if a practitioner is not able to hold the foot, then we use a rope. Now, to bring the sternum over the medial, you then hold the rope with one hand, such that the bent leg side hand holds both strands of the rope, the other hand is on the side, then keeping this generous length, release a little bit, keeping this generous length, the sternum is first built tall and straight, head is up, chest is up, keeping the, if I draw a line, as you see, the sternum to thigh is in one line. In this position, you then proceed to Janu Sirasasana, where once again you quickly hold both strands with two hands and then proceed to the final pose where the head is rested on the shin. Here you can see the rope also aids in bending or splitting the elbow wide, raising the elbows up so that the sides of the body are very sharp. A simple prop like a rope can be substituted also with a cloth, but you can see how effective it is in achieving various principles of the pose. We now saw how to do Janu Sirasasana, both in the classical form as well as prop supported variations. In the practice of Iyengar Yoga, props are introduced very meaningfully and purposefully. Props should be used wherever needed only and depending on the constitution and needs of every individual. In Janu Sirasasana, we have many benefits. Firstly, in the Madhyama Sthiti or the concave back position, the anterior spine is very well extended. And then in the full position where the head touches the shin, the posterior spine is extended. Hence, adding the two up, the anterior and posterior spine, the length of the spine is fully extended in Janu Sirasasana. The abdomen in this pose is wide open and kept soft. And therefore, the openness of the abdomen is because the knee is open to the side, and then the softness is by bending forward. When this happens, it is particularly useful for menstruating women, especially to cure or give relief to abdominal pain. Also, because of the posterior extension, the area of the kidney as well as the bladder is very well benefited. People with kidney as well as urinary problems find relief in this asana. Also, in the final position where the head is rested, it gives great relief to people with anxiety, stress, tension as well as depression, because the head rested state calms the brain as well as the nerve and hence acts as a rejuvenating pose. In the following episodes, we will see more asanas. Until then, happy practicing.